Hey, what's going on, guys? Thank you so much for tuning to yet another episode of the Sports Muse podcast. I am your host, Kevin Brumley. And what we're talking about today is we're talking about finally we get DC versus Stipe part 3. So I'm extremely excited about that. We're calling this segment Take 5. So my first take is exactly that. Thank God we are getting this fight. At one point we were concerned that we weren't going to get this fight. This fight's going to take place just about a year after we saw part 2. Both guys should be well rested. It feels like it's been a lot longer. I actually had to double check that because I feel like we haven't seen this two in the octagon in about 2 years. So that is my first take. Number 2 is, who does the layoff help more? So I was kind of thinking about it. I feel like the answer has to be Stipe. The last time we saw Stipe come off a long layoff was to DC. It seemed like his ability to take a shot improved. He seemed, sharper. DC got him in the earlier rounds, but again, his ability to take the punishment really stood tall. And with DC, man, when you start playing around in the 40s, Father Time comes up and he catches you. Number 3. Are we, unfortunately, going to see one of these fighters be over the hill when this fight takes place? Man, I hope not. I really, really hope not. I hope we see, the last hurrah of DC. But if one of them is going to be over the hill, I expect it to be DC. But don't be surprised, man, if it would be Stipe. Stipe is no young pup. DC will be 41 when this fight takes place, but Stipe will be 38 when this cage door closes. And that's one thing I didn't realize, until, DC versus Stipe part 2, is I didn't realize Stipe was, pushing late 30s when that fight happened. Stipe is a guy who really didn't come onto the scene until he was a little bit, older, in his late 20s. So, oh man, I like I said, I really hope that we see the best of these two fighters when this third one takes place, because we're talking about maybe, the greatest heavyweight ever, or we could, at the very least, we're talking about the greatest heavyweight of this generation when this fight takes place, whoever wins it. All right, number 2, and this is a big one. Can DC follow a game plan? Man, you know what I mean? As soon as the second fight ended, DC came right out and he said, I didn't listen to what my coaches had to say. And you know what? I was screaming for, man. I wanted that takedown so bad in the 4th round when you could see him starting to suck a little bit of wind, because Stipe did an intelligent job of working the body. DC's cardio is always held up better than what he looks like. But Stipe worked that body, wore him out, and then that's how, he ended up working him over and knocking him out. So I really, 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 really hope that DC follows the game plan this time. He mixes it up. He doesn't just make it a kickboxing match. He works a little bit of wrestling. Now, I'm not saying he has to come out, press him against the cage, shoot, take down, like that kind of stuff, because that's not DC's game. But I do want to see the dirty boxing a little bit. That is how he knocked out Stipe in part 1. So big question is, can DC follow the game plan? And number 1, who wins this fight? That's a tough one. That is a tough one. I am going to say DC, turns it around, comes back, avenges his loss, and ends his career on top, because this will be his last fight ever. And you know what, man? We need it in 2020. We need to see something magical happen. So my prediction is DC takes Stipe out in the 2nd round in the trilogy. That is my take 5, and I'll see you guys next time.